Sometimes I look back on my teenage years with joy and nostalgia, but there's one part I try to never look back on: the strange encounters me and my friend Phil had with a man named Scarecrow. I don't remember how me and Phil met Crow, but he was around for about a year and disappeared as soon as he came. Scarecrow was a thin and gaunt man, not super tall, with dark, sunken eyes that never seemed to blink. He was friendly enough, but something was off about him. There was a heavy feeling in the air when he was around. He appeared in our small town seemingly out of nowhere. We saw him lurking near the old abandoned factory on the outskirts, always just watching, never approaching. At first we thought he was a vagrant or some kind of homeless drifter, but there was something about the way he looked at us, like he was studying us, waiting for something. Phil was the first to approach him. One lazy afternoon when we were hanging out by the creek, Crow was sitting on a rusted metal barrel, staring at the water with a vacant expression. Phil, ever the brave one, called out, "Hey, you okay there?" Crow looked up slowly, his sunken eyes flashing with a strange glint. He offered a crooked smile and simply said, "You boys see things others don't." I was unnerved by this, but Phil asked him if he had a cigarette, and he gave us one. But our encounters with him only got worse. After that day by the creek, Scarecrow seemed to know where we'd be before we did. He'd show up at the edge of the basketball court just as the sun dipped low, or sitting on the curb outside the convenience store when we snuck out for sodas. He never startled us by appearing suddenly. He was just there, like he'd always been part of the scenery, and we'd only just notice. He started talking more too. Not conversations exactly, more like observations. He'd comment on things we hadn't said out loud. "Your dad's drinking again," he told Phil one evening, his voice calm, almost bored. Phil froze. I knew it was true, but we'd never told anyone. When Phil demanded how he knew that, Scarecrow just shrugged and scratched at his forearm, skin flaking like dry bark. He did that a lot, scratching and picking at himself. His fingernails were always black with dirt, and sometimes when he smiled, I swear I could see his gums were bleeding. The worst part was the games. Little dares at first. Walk into the abandoned factory and count the broken windows. Sit in the cemetery until midnight. Each time we refused, his expression would harden. Not angry, just an unnerving look of frustration. When we went along with it, he'd beam like a proud parent. One night he asked us to bring something of ours. "Something important," he said. "So I know you're serious." Phil brought his dad's old lighter. I brought my pocket knife, the one my grandfather gave me. Scarecrow laid the items on the hood of an abandoned car and stared at them for a long time. He was deciding which one was more important. Then he picked them up, turned, and tossed them into the weeds. "You won't need these where you're going," he said. We were furious. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Phil shouted, already running to the weeds. Scarecrow just stared at us with a look of disappointment and simply walked away, as if we bored him. We decided to avoid him after that. We didn't see him for a couple months, till one day me and Phil were smoking darts near the railroad tracks. We saw Scarecrow walking up on us, carrying a shovel and a burlap sack full of weight. "Hello, boys," Scarecrow mumbled to us. We jested our hellos. "I have an apartment to stay in now," he said quietly with a twisted smile and blank dry eyes. "Good to hear, Crow," I said. "I'll show you soon," Crow promised without stopping, continuing down the tracks. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Phil. "Yo, get over here, dude. I have something to show you ASAP." I headed out and on my trek towards Phil's. I saw Scarecrow just standing on the sidewalk. I nearly ran into him. He glared at me and smiled. The sight of his teeth made me recoil. Without hesitation, he pointed at a small run-down apartment and said, "There it is." He was just watching it. When I made it to Phil's, I dropped onto the couch, and Phil pulled out his laptop. "I've been doing research on Scarecrow. I think I found him, but something is not right." He showed me a Facebook page that read Tyson Palmer. "Yeah, it looks like him. Maybe younger." "What's strange about it, though?" I asked. Phil clicked to another page. The screen shows dozens of profiles. Scarecrow's face over and over, each with slightly different names from all over the country. "There's hundreds of them," Phil said. I looked up some of the names and found police records. One for a kidnapping in Florida, one for a murder in Maine. It just doesn't make sense. He's everywhere. I couldn't explain it either. All my reasoning fell flat. While scrolling through the profiles, they all suddenly vanished. Deleted every one of them. It was enough for us to slam the computer shut. One cold rainy night I was walking home from Phil's. When I saw Scarecrow on the porch of his apartment, he waved me over. I saw 3 kids I never met leaving from his place when he offered to show me around. I said yes, if only to get out of the soaking rain. I regretted my decision instantly. The atmosphere was unsettling with thick, musty air. The room was old and run down, empty with just 2 chairs and a small table sitting in the middle of the room. Like an interrogation room. Crow beckoned me to sit, and I did. "How did you get this place?" I asked, trying to break the silence. His face scolded with a wide smile that seemed to stretch unnaturally. "I'll show you," Crow said. He pulled out a Polaroid photo of loose soil in the woods. "I don't get it," I told him. "You'll see it on the news. Then you'll get it," he chuckled. He got up and pinned the picture to the empty stained wall. Efficiently freaked out, I got up to leave. Turned to the door and he was there, locking it. I didn't even hear him move. "You're not leaving yet, I have something for you," he gasped. He pulled out an old fillet knife and pointed it at me. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest, unsure of what to do next. Crow twitching in front of me, his face crooked, said, "I wish I could take you and Phil with me. You 2 are good kids. But I found better. You 2 made the choice. Take it," he shouted. His hand trembled with anticipation. Confused, I cautiously reached out and grabbed it from him. He stepped aside and I ran out and down the road as fast as I could. My lungs burned and my clothes soaked, but I didn't stop. Phil told me he had a similar encounter where Scarecrow gave him an old lighter. 3 days after that day, the police found 3 dead teens in the very apartment. It was the talk of the small town for some time. Rumor was their faces were burnt till they were unrecognizable, and gutted from the mouth all the way down. But those were just rumors. I try not to think about how it could have been me. I would never saw Scarecrow after that, or if he was even a person. I try not to think about finding the knife in my room, drenched in blood. But when I close my eyes at night, it's all I think about.